Do you need a fresh perspective today? I'm a piano teacher and I run a resource site for other music teachers called Vibrant Music Teaching. But one of my side passions is economics. I listen to a lot of economics and psychology, pop psychology, podcasts and books and things like that. And I think there's a few lessons that piano teachers could learn from these areas. We're going to start with sunk cost fallacy. So this is that feeling where you've already put a lot of effort into something and therefore you want to keep going with it. Let's say that you started a degree, a college course in, I don't know, bookkeeping. And you were 2.5 years into that course and it was 3 years long, but you hate it. And you're pretty sure deep in your gut that you are never going to use this bookkeeping course. Well, the temptation is to say, yeah, but I've made it this far. I've put this much effort in, and therefore I need to finish it. And maybe that's the case. But sometimes what we need to think of is the effort we still have to expend and whether that would be better spent elsewhere. One way I really like that this was put, I think it was Steve Levitt who said this, was about thinking about it as a gift to yourself. So the effort you've put in or the money you've spent on something thus far is a gift from your past self to your future self. Now, if someone were to give you that as a gift, you could either use it, continue with it, or you could not. But it's a gift from your past self. You get to choose what you do with it. So think about that next time you've poured a lot of effort into something. Let's say you're working on a piece in your own personal practice and you just don't love it. Let's say your student is working on a piece and they don't love it. Sometimes we're tempted to think we've come this far, we've done this much, but there's nothing wrong with letting go of things. Sometimes the better answer is to quit that certain thing so that you have more time to spend on something else. Similarly, I want you to think about opportunity costs. That's the idea of if you are saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Sometimes, as teachers in general, I think, we can kind of be people pleasers. And so we want to say yes to everything. But what is the opportunity cost? What is it that you're losing out on if you say yes to helping this person with this thing, doing this special project? Sometimes it's a yes, and then you should absolutely do it. But sometimes it's like, oh, and you have no obligation to do that thing, but you still feel like you should. Don't shove yourself into a corner. Ask yourself, what am I missing out on if I do this thing? The next concept is correlation versus causation. I think this is very relevant to our teaching. Sometimes we look at data, we look at information that we have, and two things go together. And we assume that one has caused the other thing. But actually, they're just correlated. It's not causation. So we see a student who has collapsing fingertip joints. Well, if we also see that they always wear a hat, it would be silly to assume that that is causing their fingertips to collapse. It would probably be coming from somewhere else. But sometimes things aren't this obvious. So the next time you think, this, therefore that, this is causing that, stop and ask yourself, what evidence do I have? Is that really causing that situation? Is that thing leading to that? Or are they just correlated and the source is elsewhere? And the next one, I don't have a good term for, a pithy term, but it's the idea that people want to do what other people do. So this has been shown in many studies where, for example, they have worked with people, they've been trying to get people to save water, let's say. And they've mailed out different leaflets, different flyers to residents in a certain area. And they've mixed it up in terms of who receives which flyer. Some of them tout the benefits of saving water for the environment, or the money that they'll save. But the most successful ones tell the people that most of their fellow residents, most of the neighborhood, most of the people in your area are trying to save water. So 61% of people in your area, I'm just making this up, are working to save water or use less water this year versus last year. That starts to make people think, oh, I'm not the norm. So how could we use that to reinforce behaviors that we want in our studios? It's something that may take a bit of digesting in your brain, but I think being aware of what motivates people to actually make a change, to actually do certain behaviors, is really useful for us. So those are just a few ideas from one of my side passions, which is absorbing economics and psychology as much as I can. Do you have a side passion? And if you do, what has it taught you about music? No matter what it is, whether it's cross-stitching or yoga or something, I feel I learn so many things about teaching from all different aspects of my life, so I'd love to hear your lessons in the comments.